Hello, it's Peter French again, here to inspire you to possess two distinct strategies for the subject, attack or defend, which forms the basis of finance implemented. Attack, to make a difference to a trend which is going nowhere or going south, and defend, a trend that is good, improving or matching your benchmark criteria. The first implementation is to manage revenue in the business. And of course, this comes from the sales process, unless you're lucky enough to just swat away the opportunities that are fighting each other to get through your front door. But where do you start? Conceptually, you could come up with a number of projects that could improve your revenue. Let's look at a few. So, why units, you say? The most important objection to this is, I don't sell units. We're in services, or we sell thousands of units, or some months we don't sell a unit at all because they're big ticket items, or we sell a project and that can run for months. Both tangible and intangible things are provided by you to generate revenue. These things need to be measured. Some thought is needed to get this meta unit of measure, but the work is required. When we capture the value, we need to distinguish between what is invoiced, paid for, and not paid for, or about to be paid for. We are only interested in the revenue inflow in this month. We need to keep track of margins, but you say, we have that in our management accounts every month. In our view, it's not good enough to see GP percentage or margins for the enterprise without the context of history and projections into the future, but more especially because that margin is made up of many underlying meta sources. We need to understand margins in each product or family of products, and even extend our measurements of margins to what each sale point creates, what each customer or customer type creates. This gives us tactical and strategic control on where we are making our money and losing it. At each point of entry where the suspect leads enter our organization, they need to be captured as a quantity and where and what was used to generate them. What activity generated this interest in your product or service? Lastly, is your sales engine converting leads to opportunities and those opportunities to revenue in an effective and efficient way? That is what a good business process does. It takes raw materials and produces the desired outcome in a repeatable, qualitative, and quantitative way demanded by the leader to meet the future vision of your organization. First of all, we draw a cross on a whiteboard or a presentation easel to overcome this most confusing aspect. In our example of a number of lists items that contain importance and impact of change projects. High impact and high importance gets an attack strategy as we gotta do these projects. Top right quadrant. High importance and low impact gets a defend strategy. Let's make sure that the current outcomes are maintained and protected, bottom right quadrant. High impact but low importance gets a wanna do tag, and we will do these when the impact or important ones are out of the way, top left quadrant. And lastly, low importance and low impact are nice to have, but don't do, until there is nothing else left on the plate. Bottom left quadrant. One of the biggest challenges of change is that either we don't know what to do or we have so much to do. Either way, we can't get started. One of the first golden bullets of change is to prioritize our projects and get started on the top 3. Most exercises to define projects needed in an enterprise come up with about 20 odd projects. If you followed our SOD, the system of delivery we spoke about in leadership, that's only 3 projects per business dynamic. So be prepared for a long list. So to prioritize, select any project and place it in the middle of a cross drawn on that whiteboard or presentation easel. These lines mean nothing other than as a reference point. Once the first project is placed in that reference, select at random another project and ask the question, relative to the reference and to each other, does this project have more or less impact? Remember, there's no right or wrong. There's just your intuitive feel for the relativity of the exercise. The second golden bullet of change is how we handle the resultant projects to deliver change. More about that later. For now we have a prioritized list of projects and a visual representation of which to work on first. Among many areas where a defined and monitored sales process can help decrease and even remove certain expenses, there are just some that are worthy of the enterprise leader's attention. Let's look at them. The anatomy of a deal are these 4 elements. The sales price, what is seen as revenue from the sale, blue. The fixed cost, the cost that is incurred even if deals are not done, red. The variable cost, the cost which is incurred as we progress activity on a deal. They can consist of ongoing expenses to pursue the deal, as well as commissions when the deal is eventually closed, green. The margin achieved, that is, the actual money put in the bank, mauve, which is the sales price less these costs of providing the services or product. It's called the gross profit margin. In this stylized representation of a deal's anatomy, we see an initial deal that is won, and then 2 that are lost, and finally 1 which is won. What we're trying to show here is that the components of fixed cost, red, are present in every deal. The fixed cost accumulates until a deal is struck, and the revenue is then apportioned to cover these compounded costs. With each lost deal, the margin of the next won deal is reduced. Being aware of this characteristic and fixing it allows positive margin revenue to flow directly to the bottom line. Is that worthy of your time? If we have a well-defined sales process and you monitor the velocity, that is the time that the opportunity are taking to pass through the process, then you'll quickly become aware of opportunities that are stuck. Both revenue increased and expenses decreased should be fully visualized, monitored on a regular basis with associated projects to push them in the correct strategic direction. There is a fine line between hanging in there and nurturing the opportunity or kicking it into touch. But can we do it to help move those that are influenced through the process? Stuck doesn't necessarily mean no, but unless we understand why it is stuck, we cannot do anything about the bottleneck. Then make the hard decision to disengage. Seen another way, the direct cost of sale is not a straight line of costs that are accumulated through the life of an opportunity as it passes through the sales process. It quickly becomes exponential as we struggle to get traction with an opportunity. It is human to start doing unnatural things, like inviting them to lunches, giving them gifts, trips to reference accounts, sometimes even expensive overseas trips. On the face of it, these two sales teams look the same if we had to monitor just the outcome, which is orders. They both convert 15 prospects into 3 outcomes, but the one team rigorously applies a project qualification profile, a PQP, which help decide whether we should stay engaged or be engaged at all. The decision to lose early saves us from these expensive opportunity love relationships and can make substantial cost savings if measured, monitored, and applied dispassionately. Lose early and save up to 400% in your direct cost of sale. Straight to the bottom line. Just about every entrepreneurial leader concentrates on the outcomes or the evident measurable activities. But there's only one change of focus that will reduce your expenses. Do you think number of leads? Sure, if you don't have leads, then, well, we can't sell. But are they dollars in the bank? Number of visits? Again, that's just expenses. Number of qualified visits is more like it. Number of quotes? Again, that's 1950s activity thinking. Number of differentiated quotes aimed at articulating the value to the customer, maybe. So you have only 2 levers. Efficiency, get through more work by reducing the time an opportunity takes to convert to a deal, and effectiveness of the process to convert a greater number of opportunities to deals without losing or wasting any. The process needs to be bullet and waterproof. It won't break and it won't leak. Wow, a lot. And by now you're either confused or wondering, I want one, but where do I start and how do I convert these ideas into real, live, working projects that result in a more profitable revenue? Why not bring your questions to a no-cost discussion on how to start? Visit this link. Or, if you want the session to fit your diary, why don't you go to this link? Thanks for watching.